Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Keep It Dirty. And I am your host, Leslie Dowling. I'm a functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner, and I'm also a public speaker. Today, my guest is Todd Wickersham. He is a certified functional nutrition counselor and regenerative health coach. Todd is also the founder of Beneficial Results. So it's great to see you, Todd. How are you?
Doing great. Great to be here, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'd love to, I guess, just take a deep dive into what brought you to practicing functionally and really just being aware of what's going on in our environment. So I'd love to hear all about it.
Sure. Well, my work, I'll give you a little synopsis of what I do first, and then I'll get into the history. But what I do is I help people live healthy to live more fully. And what I mean by that is that we're all unique. We all are being fed lots of information from the media and fads and things like that related to health and nutrition. And I help my clients navigate that to find out really what is best for their body and their systems. To If they're dealing with a challenge, a disease, or something like that, sometimes when you assist them with getting the foundations of nutrients and food and exercise and clean air, they find that some of those symptoms and those diseases start to change, and usually for the better. So I really work with my clients on the foundational work to support their health and well-being. And as I said to you before we started live,
Mhm.
what is one person's food is another person's poison. And we are all unique. And the keto diet may work for one person and a vegan diet may work for another, so a lot of that is working with my clients to determine what's best for them. Um, so that's what I'm doing now. How I got here, um, I was a kid that had skin issues, eczema, acne, things like that. And I learned very early that there was a great correlation between what I ate, how much I slept, how much stress I had, and how my body functioned, or basically how my skin showed up. I would get, itchy hands and things like that. And I laugh because there was one time where I went to a dermatologist, and he was an older man was, at the end of his career, and he was like, you need to eat more yellow vegetables, you need to eat more carrots and sweet potatoes and squash and things like that. That's really going to support your health and your hands. And he even did light therapy on my hands to help with healing the eczema. And then he retired, and I did that, and it was helpful. And then he retired, and a young cohort who just graduated from medical school in dermatology came in and told me, oh, yeah, we just learned in medical school that diet has nothing to do with your health and nothing to do with your skin. As long as you're eating the basic foods, you'll be fine. There's
Right.
no correlation between yellow vegetables and healthy skin. So I laugh because we've come full circle.
Sure.
Even in the public now, we all know there's a great connection between our health and our food and our exercise and how much sleep we're getting, et cetera. So, but that was the journey that was what started my health journey, is this eczema. And I did training in massage, acupressure, a number of holistic modalities over the years, energy medicine, and worked with ozone with clients for a few years, and a number of different things, helping clients really try to, how do I say this? It was less about the modality and more about the client learning what they could do for themselves to support their health and well-being. I have one client that was a cancer patient, and she was doing everything the doctor said. And I sat with her, and, well, I'll say it this way. Um, I told her that she was the one to choose whether she was going to get better or worse. She was the one who was going to choose what doctor to go see, what practice of medicine to follow, what to do to support her health. And she was very surprised because she says, no one ever told me that I had the power to influence my health. And
Wow.
she said that was a turning point for her because she realized that she was the one who had the power to choose whether she was going to essentially live or die. And I'm happy to say she's in her 50s now, or I think she's just turning 50,
Oh,
and she is healthy and well, and has a wonderful daughter since then. So it's a lot of what I do is work with people on their mindset,
mhm.
and there's also, as we said, navigating the education. But back to my path, I went from schooling in holistic health and nutrition, also studying environmental studies, and I worked in the industry basically on removing toxins from workplaces and cleaning up hazardous waste sites and things like that. And then I went into recycling and setting up waste reduction programs at Fortune 10 companies. And then I did that for a while. I moved to Texas and worked on clean air after doing some .com work, and did a lot of lobbying for legislation to support the construction community to get grants to clean up the air. And it was a lot of replacing old dirty equipment with new cleaner equipment. And
Mhm.
so that's sort of like my public health focus. And then I did some agriculture related work. I'm a big foodie and I love to teach people how to make delicious food, and also teach them what is healthy versus not healthy. And I really think the forefront of the food movement is really regenerative agriculture. And it's not just from the food perspective and the health perspective, but it's also from a climate perspective. Um, as we work with animals and support them in their natural environment, they do things to the earth and to the environment that builds the soil, um, cleans up the water, and it's a natural process that we try to mimic in the field. So I could go on and on about that. It's sort of a totally different area, but there's a lot of hope when you look at regenerative agriculture and the environmental movement, regenerative agriculture and clean water, regenerative agriculture in reduced pesticides and exposures to farm workers and eaters like you and me. So, and then during COVID, I went back to school again at the Functional Nutrition Alliance, and really upped my game on three roots, many branches, became a certified functional nutrition counselor and an FNLP, and working with clients since then. And my specialty has turned into being focused on men's health, brain health, longevity. And I had my own experience with a car accident a number of years ago, which was a forced lesson in brain health. Um, and got through that and learned a lot and have a lot to share with clients. So that's sort
No,
of a long answer to your question, but
no, the reason why I started Keep It Dirty and people say keep it dirty, what is that all about? It's really getting back to grounding with Mother Earth because we are all just so distant and we are so in such the bubble with the social media. And here we are, on our laptops, but really just getting out there, breathing air and just looking around and just nurturing ourselves through nature. And that is something that is so important right now with everything that's going on. And like we say, because we're both fellow colleagues from the same school, very passionate about people being aware of what they're putting in their mouth and reading the packages that are on the shelves, which over 500 of the packaged foods have been banned in most of the European countries, which we still can get today on our shelves, and how addictive these sugars are, and that we are not even realizing the younger generations and the children and what we're feeding them, and just empowering and giving them education and knowledge is really why I started Keep It Dirty, and just what's going on environmentally. So it's amazing all that you have done. And do you miss that aspect or part of, the public policies and agriculture? I mean, you could obviously you bring these beautiful tools together to incorporate that into now practicing functional nutrition with clients. But do you miss that, the corporate world and doing that?
Well, the corporate world I don't miss, but I worked for myself as I had my own businesses, and so they were small businesses, and I had like 4 or 5 employees, and so I've always been able to really focus on the things I care about most. But as you know, running a business, you have to do lots of things and things you don't like to do, but you have to do, whether it's taxes or, accounting or invoicing or whatever. But um, you, the thing that I am starting to do is incorporate some of the regenerative agriculture work with my health coaching. And I'm currently in discussions with a retreat center here in Wisconsin to do a farm to table meal with all local foods. And it's going to be in June, which means that there's a very limited amount of choices for local foods at that time in Wisconsin. But looks like we're going to be able to come up with some great salads, some mushroom soups, some, hors d'oeuvres with grass-fed cow milk from grass-fed cows, cheese from grass-fed cows, and some grass-fed beef in small quantities, and then some strawberries, at that time of year, which should be really fun. So it's a combination of, I'm going to use the meal as a teaching moment for the guests, and then I'll be doing a talk afterwards on health and nutrition. But it's an opportunity to assist them on seeing the connections between where the food came from, the vitality of the food, how it supports their body, and ways to make healthy choices. For example, if you start a meal with lots of bread and some sort of sugary drink, whether it's an alcohol drink or a soda or something like that, you're going to spike your blood sugar and you're going to be hungry and eat 5 times more, well, a lot more than you would eat if you started with, a savory hors d'oeuvre or a salad or a tart drink or something like that, which would sort of slow that down. Maybe not tart drink, but a sort of vinegar type, lemon water or something. So that's one area, and then I'm going to be working at the farmers market here, and supporting the staff there and teaching them about, or not teaching the staff, but teaching the guests who come to the farmers market about health. So I'm keeping that connection alive.
That's awesome. And I was just curious in the area, and I'm sorry, my Shih Tzu, we have 3 dogs. It's a little circus here. Sometimes I forgot to close the front door, but I was just curious, in the community or the area that you live in, are people very eco-conscious? Are there a lot of farm to table establishments, or are people more compromised? Like where I live in my community, it's the Pennsylvania Dutch German, eating just a lot of carbs and sugars and sweets, and a lot of people are very compromised here. So it's so hard and challenging to tap into a group of people that for generations have eaten certain ways and they don't want to make changes.
Yeah, I think the Madison area, it's a university town and it's the capital of the state of Wisconsin, and we have a lot of diversity. We have exactly what you just said. There's a German communities. There's also a lot of young people, and veganism is popular here. We have a lot of farmers that, and more folks in a rural setting that are not living off the land like they used to, but living on traditional diets that in the past may have been very healthy when they didn't have chemicals in them and they didn't have as much high fructose corn syrup and other things. So it's all over the board here in the Madison area. And working with clients, it's not really to say one thing is right or one thing is wrong about somebody's diet. It's working with them to find out if what they're eating is working for their health and supporting their health, and what tweaks we can make to that. Sometimes, as you know, there's some foundational things we can do that may involve giving up, say, gluten for somebody who has a specific autoimmune disease or an autoimmune condition. I won't say disease. And there's other people that may have allergies to dairy that may not realize it. And so we have to work with that. A lot of times I like to start with the basics, and that is really teaching them that what's on the shelves in the supermarket tends to be the stuff to avoid. In other words, what's in the center of the store, the packaged goods, as you talked about reading ingredients labels, there is the less of those ingredients that you're getting in processed food, the better off you're going to be. And in restaurant food, there's a lot of unhealthy oils and a lot of sugar and artificial preservatives and ingredients and binders. And so it's starting with trying to focus on eating real food first. And then if we have challenges that are specific, and sometimes just getting people to eat real food, they can feel 100% better. But other times we have to go much deeper.
Yeah, I find that, when I'm working with clients or I'm speaking to the general public, and after many weeks down the road, somebody, reached out to me and over the years, or a couple of people, and just asking me to work one-on-one with them. And when I did, they're like, wow, you know what? I have this restored, renewed health, like as if when I was in my 20s, when I had this energy. And it seems like, I don't know, maybe my taste buds are changing. And I said, when you start ridding yourself of the processed, packaged, ultra processed, the sugars, refined sugars, your senses will be heightened. You'll be able to taste things that are, your taste buds are at a heightened level. All your senses, you have more clarity. And they say, yeah, like, why would I want to go back to being more compromised? And I think that's when people get that aha, like that there are no quick fixes, that it's a lifestyle change. And just like in our careers, you think, okay, to get to XYZ, I need so many years of education. I need to start at ground zero and work my way up. So why not look at our health like that and say it's a lifelong, change to feel good. But I'd love to go back to, because I'm really so into the environment, the way that our microbial terrain of the soil is so depleted, which is then a domino effect with the fact that our foods are not tasting like they used to years ago. What do you think is going to, like, if you could look at the big picture, you hear news, sensationalizing, breaking news that we're up against the wall. Like, if we don't make changes now, Mother Earth is just like, we are just ruining what's going on with our world. What are your thoughts on that? And I know that's a big question.
Yeah. Well, a lot of my career has been involved in climate work, and I switch between hopelessness when it comes to the big picture, and a lot of optimism. And what I've realized is that every climate is also a microclimate. And there is new science showing what's happening with water cycles and local water cycles. And one of the reasons I'm so excited about regenerative agriculture is it involves restoring the local water cycles. It involves keeping a green cover on the earth. In other words, whether it's grass or whether it's multiple crops at the same time, so that you're not seeing bare soil as much. Bare soil is what creates desert. And where there is green cover, there is less heat. It protects the earth. It protects the microbiome in the earth, the bacteria that nurture the plants and the animals, the microbial connections that go between the different plants and actually provide water even beyond and nutrients without without the roots. I mean, they're basically like an added root system under the ground. So the the area I'm most excited about related to the climate and the long-term viability of this country and other countries is really on restoring the land. I worked with an organization called Biodiversity for a Livable Climate, and that is their whole focus, is on restoring the planet. And nature knows how to do it. We just have to support it. Yes, there's definite things that need to be done, as reducing certain emissions. And, we get benefits by when you stop burning coal, you get clean air benefits, you get reduced mercury in the ocean, you get reduced CO2 in the atmosphere, you get all these benefits. And the other way of looking at it is, by burning that coal, you're creating externalities, from my economics background, that are spewing onto the population in other countries and people all around the world, that are not being paid for by the people using that electricity or using that device or power plant. So my point, I think I lost my train of thought a little bit, but it's coming back to ways that support, oh, I know what it was. There's so much talk about trying to turn off the tap of CO2 emissions and to solve the climate crisis. Turning off the tap is only part of the solution. It's really finding a way to drain the tub. In other words, if you have the vision of the atmosphere being full of CO2, you have to have a way of sucking that CO2 out of the atmosphere and putting it in the ground. And plants and trees and regenerative agriculture and restoration, holistic grazing and other modalities have a great way of doing that. And CO2 also is not the only issue. And sometimes I think the bankers want CO2 to be the focus because they want to create trading systems that they can make money off. But CO2 is only part of the solution. We really have to find ways of restoring the ecosystem so they suck CO2 out of the atmosphere and build the soil. It's sort of like it's a benefit when you create a green cover on the earth. And when I say green, you don't create it. We support nature creating a green cover and healing the planet and creating local water supplies or local water systems. An example is the Midwest. Even though most of the agriculture here is corn and soybeans, there is a lot of moisture created by that corn. And there's actually more rainfall in the Midwest since we've been growing corn here than prior to that. And it's like, if you could do that in a regenerative way or restorative way, instead of a way that we're currently doing, growing corn and soybeans with chemicals and industrial fertilizers, et cetera, you could actually create an ecosystem that creates more of a wetter environment, a cooler environment, and grows more crops. So I could go on and on. There's also diversity is a key factor in this too. It's not just growing two crops; it's growing multiple crops. It's growing food, not growing corn for sugar and corn for ethanol. It's growing real food. So
that's fascinating. I mean, I just love hearing all about this, because it just, obviously your background, so much, and with all the experience you have. But I love to just create awareness for our generation, the younger generations, to all really be aware of what's going on. And I mean, we try to, always recycle, repurpose, but sometimes it's really difficult. Like my son, who is the environmental studies major at Wake Forest, he came home, he's like, Dad, you can't just dump the recycle into the recycling. You have to rinse it out, or else they're going to throw that in the garbage. So there's so many little things that we really, like, are we really helping, the planet? We have to be, I think, more well-versed. So, yeah. But yeah, Todd, I don't know. He just blipped out for a minute, and that's the beauty of technology. So we're going to wait for a minute to see. Could be the Wi-Fi. Oh, here he comes. He's back. So we're just having fascinating conversation. Oh, there you are.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I was like, okay, and here we are back to keep it dirty.
Technology, it's great when
Right.
it works, but it
The
has its
beauty and the
challenges.
beast. The beauty and the beast.
Yeah.
So I just love everything that you're doing. And I think just my passion is we are these messengers on this planet to really help restore, nurture, and just create awareness for people to live as optimally as they can while we're still here on planet Earth. So can you please share your link, or if you're doing any special packages, or, to our viewers and our listeners today?
Sure. By the time this airs, it's probably going to be too late to sign up for my um, March 29th event to help people get, how do I say this? It's going to be a 4-week event, 3 sessions over 4 weeks to help people get clear on what they're living for. Because sometimes the first things that are important with related to healthy living and living more fully is figuring out what our motivations are. So that's going to be a session that I'm going to do in the very first beginning of a program. And then I'm going to teach people a lot of what I've talked about in the past related to fact versus fiction, what works for the individual versus another individual, et cetera. You can get that information and everything about me at toddwickersham.com. I spell it with 1 D, but I also own the domain for 2 Ds. So it should go to toddwickersham.com. You can look up Todd Wickersham on the whatever search engine you like, and you will find all my social media out there. You can get a flavor of how I work. And if you do want to do an individual session, just go to toddwickersham.com, and there's a form there at the bottom of the web first page, or at the bottom of every page, that you can do a questionnaire to set up an appointment with me. And I'd be glad to talk to you, whether you have a question or curious about something. And if you want to work with me, that's great. And we could start that from there. But I'm here to answer questions, and I love teaching people different ways to live healthy, to live more fully. So I really want to thank you, Leslie, for this great discussion, and I really appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. And we have to keep each other in the loop as to what we're doing. And who knows, maybe down the road we could connect and collaborate and do something virtually with all your wealth of knowledge and my passion trying to get people to live optimally. So again, thank you, Todd. And sorry about the dog in the background, but remember, everybody, just check out Keep It Dirty. And if you have any questions, please reach out to Todd. And it was a great talk. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.